period in Australia where we've always been a little bit inclined to run our own race. If you look at, I mean, series production racing was the same around the world probably, and then we started to modify the cars a bit more and a bit more all the time, until they virtually just about became sports sedans. And then Group C was introduced to try and bring it back a bit. And then we thought, to go to Group A, you're going and picking up an international formula, so that people could come from Europe and race in Australia, which sounded terrific, but the trouble was that our Australian cars didn't really comply, because we'd never made a big enough volume of cars to get them to be classified, you know, as a Group A. So I think even when we had Group A, our current cars were sort of a little bit, CAMS possibly did something, I forget it now, we're going back some time, to allow the cars to run anyway by producing a certain number.
Ready for a start. Turn-away crowd here at Lakeside Raceway today. Streaming into the place since 9 this morning. Hang on, Australia, we're about to go racing. Off the line, Johnson away quickly, Bowers away even faster on the inside. The 2B and 8 Sierras have been shuffled out by the Shell Sierras as they head down to the carousel, the right-hander for the first time. And you'll find it'll be Dick Johnson in the lead from teammate Johnny Bower. Now it's a toss-up whether Longhurst actually got the better of Alan Jones as they come out of the carousel. And a good start also there by Greg Hansford. Jimmy Richards out on the dirt and Mark Scaife up 2 spots ahead of him as they come beneath the Dunlop Bridge, and we're working lap 1 of round 5 here from Lakeside.
Tremendous start from Johnson. He got the car off the line just beautifully and already starting to increase that slight advantage on this first lap. The critical element, as we mentioned a few moments ago, in this race is going to be the treatment of tyres and how they withstand the temperatures and the extra abrasiveness in this circuit as Kevin Waldock goes off. Car 55 with severe damage to the front right-hand corner. Longhurst, car 25, the pace setter in most of the practice and qualifying sessions, and is right behind John Bowe at the moment. Then Alan Jones, Greg Hansford, Mark Scaife and Larry Perkins. Tony takes to the grass to have a look on the inside of Bowe.
Joining us in commentary today, one of Australia's top touring car drivers, Alan GRICE. Welcome aboard, Alan.
Thank you, Mike. I see Win Percy's made a very good start there through. He's picked up about 4 positions.
At the moment, we've got Tony Longhurst working away at John Bowe. I would think a sense of frustration at this moment, everything working so well early in the week for Tony.
Tony's on Yokohama rubber, Dick and John Bowe running Dunlop. And depending on who you talk to, Alan, as you probably know, there is all sorts of rumours about will they stop, won't they stop, who's got what compound on. And it's going to be very interesting to see who can do what.
Yes, there's no question. I guess you often pose the question, will they stop? And I feel certain that a lot of these Sierras are going to be stopping today. I think the Nissans will go right through. Probably Win Percy, who's running a very hard compound Dunlop, will go through, but I think we could see a lot of action in the pits, which would be very unusual for a sprint race.
It certainly would be. A great start also from Greg Hansford in the ANZ Sierra, Alan Moffat's car. Wise decision by Alan to put Greg in the car this season to get him in trim when they go to the Tooheys 1000 at Bathurst. He responded so well yesterday in qualifying. At the moment, we have Dick Johnson of Queensland leading this one from teammate John Bowe, doing a good job keeping Tony Longhurst at bay while the boss escapes into the breeze. Then Greg Hansford back behind Longhurst, and he's been able to contain Alan Jones at this stage of the race as they work their way to the top of the motorcraft hill.
Behind Jonesy, we've got Mark Scaife, then Larry Perkins, and as Alan GRICE suggested a minute ago, Win Percy, a great start to make up a bunch of places. He's right behind Perkins, so the Holden V8 rivalry continues, and then Jim Richards behind them, and you can see that bunch of cars in the back of that shot there.
You wouldn't suggest that Bowie was driving defensively, would you? Just give the boss about a 10-second break on the field.
He's got a couple of different rear bumper bars at the moment, John Bowe, one of them being Alan Jones.
Tony Longhurst done a substantial amount of testing on the Lakeside circuit in the last few weeks, probably done more kilometres around here than anybody. Maybe he knows something about his car setup and configuration and the way his tyres are going to last.
I wouldn't mind betting that John Bowe may have opted for the harder Dunlop. These things are held pretty close to the chest, and I know that Dick is running the second hardest Dunlop, but it wouldn't surprise me if Bowe has gone the conservative way and they're having a dollar each way. It certainly looks as though Dick's getting away from John, and that's not usual. They normally run pretty well the same pace.
The man who really is starting to make a run at these two, Longhurst. nip and tuck playing with John Bow. Absolute flat strap in the Sierras, and that's Greg Hansford, who closes right up behind Tony Longhurst after running away from Alan Jones. So the Queenslanders certainly making their presence felt here today.
I know Hansford, for example, has gone for the Dunlop 15 compound, and it's certainly doubtful that it's going to get through, but who knows?
He's up there and running with them at the moment as they go beneath the Dunlop Bridge.
The same can be said of the two Commodores. I know that Win Percy is running the very hardest Dunlop, and Perkins is running the softer one. So with Win so close to Larry Rod at the moment, that's going to be a passing situation, I'm sure.
Well, Dick is scampering away from them. John Bow runs in second. Longhurst is third. Then Greg Hansford running fourth in the number 9 car. Fifth is Alan Jones in the number 20 Benson and Hedges Sierra. Mark Scaife is the next one. Then, of course, you've got Larry Perkins and Win Percy side by side, and Jim Richards tailing them. This is quite a race at Lakeside.
It certainly is. They're using all of that black stuff. And another thing to consider is that turbo cars don't really like running in the hot draft of another. And right now, Tony Longhurst is eating a lot of hot air from John Bow's car. That's not going to be helping his temperatures.
I think he's trying to get out of the of sitting behind the car, and he's doing a fair bit of dancing around the road. But he's got to try and find a spot, first of all, to try and pass. And at the moment, it seems like it's only the front straight.
Alan Jones buying his way into this battle slowly but surely as well.
It'd be fair to suggest, Alan, that maybe Bowie is holding up the freight train.
Yes, I think I'd accept that comment. And I think it's also noticeable Alan Jones is tending to keep his car a lot straighter today than we've seen. I think he's really concentrating on getting the most out of his Yokohamas and giving them as nice a time as he can.
The cars sweep by the Toyota Corolla there on the inside. That's, of course, running for the small car championship.
It'd be hard to imagine such a different discipline or contrast, Alan, between coming out of a successful Formula One reign and then getting into touring cars, Formula One cars on rails, or touring cars, anything but. Josie's got to really think about the way he drives the car and how straight he keeps it.
Yes, no question, and it's a matter of adapting the style. Hansford's moving well on brakes there, isn't he?
Yeah, very well. Superb start from Dick Johnson, of course, lined up side by side with Tony Longhurst. Might recap that for you quickly now. Tony, who had set the pace here, we take his special Dulux auto colour race cam from the top of Glenn Seaton's car. Just look at the rubber left on the racetrack.
Well, Ceto got swamped a little bit by Mark Gibbs. Then Win Percy, straight through the middle, and that was Peter Brock that he squeezed.
That wasn't the best of starts from Glenn Seaton, but that'll give you an indication of just how much cut and thrust there is in the first turn.
Yes, indeed. He lost about 5 places there.
One of the interesting things that came out of Thursday, Friday and Saturday's running around the circuit is that most of the tyres that are coming off these cars are not showing any great degree of wear. It's temperature that's killing them.
Yes.
And that's really got some of the technicians in this paddock at the moment confused. Since we were here last year, the track's been resurfaced. And I think it's probably fair to say, Alan, that we've never seen temperatures like this at this time of the year at this circuit.
Yes, and it's certainly going to show in this particular race. The thing about a new circuit or a new surface, although we have heard some of the drivers complain about lack of grip, the thing that normally occurs is that you get very good grip, and this is shown by the fact that the car is not sliding, therefore it doesn't wear. And but in using that good grip, it generates the extra temperature, and that's where we're going to see a problem. I can even start to think that Tony Longhurst is just falling back a little bit from John Bow, and that may be the first sign that he's starting to get a lot too much heat into his tyres. I mean, he was really monstering John Bow just a couple of laps ago, and he's now just slipped back that little bit.
Looks like Bob Holden there in the little Corolla as they all work their way past him with safety. Longhurst in 25, running in third. There's John Bow. Dick Johnson's rear gunner, doing a great job running in second, a 1-2 at the moment for the Shell Ultra High team. Then Longhurst, Greg Hansford, Alan Jones, that's the order. Mark Scaife is the next one back. Jimmy Richards actually also starting to clap the pace on.
I'll go through the top 10. We've got Johnson leading from Bow, then Longhurst in third, Greg Hansford is fourth. Alan Jones the next man, followed by Mark Scaife, Larry Perkins, Win Percy, Jim Richards and Colin Bond rounding out the top 10 as we look at Tony Longhurst, the Bathurst winner in 1988. fifth in last year's Touring Car Championship and fourth in the series so far, and desperately trying to scoop up some points to keep his chances of another title alive.
They're very professional with the team, the two-car team. Oh, Greg getting just a little too much sideways there. That's probably put a little more heat than he required.
Yes. Gerald Kay's gone off, car 24 at the end of the front straight.
So he's down in the carousel with some bits and pieces just on the edge of the racetrack, but certainly out of harm's way. There's this fascinating scrap between John Bowe, Longhurst, Hansford, and of course Alan Jones in car number 20.
And I see the Nissan has gone missing. The two Sierras, the two Commodores are now next behind Jones.
Catch those shortly when we let the field run through. In the meantime, though, car number 17, Dick Johnson, continues on before a turnaway crowd here at Lakeside Raceway today. There wouldn't be one Queenslander that wouldn't be satisfied with seeing Dick up the front. Welcome back to Lakeside, where Dick Johnson continues to lead round 5 of the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship from his teammate John Bowe, and of course the Benson and Hedges duo of Tony Longhurst and Alan Jones.
Jones having moved up a spot. We're 13.5 minutes into this 50-minute race. And Dick Johnson just driving perfectly at the moment, keeping the car straight. Doesn't appear to be working anything too hard, and is just stretching the gap quite nicely over his teammate John Bowe, who's taking care of the rear guard action.
Yes, he's driving very well. It's just very difficult to put together that cleanly over the laps as they go on, but he's certainly doing it. And we can see there too that Perkins is now next behind Hansford. Percy having had a spin. He's back on the track and going, but lost a lot of spots. And the two Nissans, they're still hanging in.
Nearly a 4-second gap that Dick Johnson has over John Bowe this early stage in the race.
We'll be able to show you that gap visually next time they come down the Motorcraft Hill. There's Johnson, though, down to the left-hander at Hungary Corner. Now, Johnson will go through. There's the gap that he has over John Bowe, who runs in second. There's the gap back to third. That is Alan Jones, then Greg Hansford, then Tony Longhurst, and then Larry Perkins coming on like gangbusters. There you have Colin Bond. He's followed then by Mark Scaife. The next one behind Scaife is Richards. And also closing up there, young Glenn Seaton in the Peter Jackson Sierra. So they're all fairly close, but Dick at this stage doing it easy. Here's the other gap back to the mobile car of Peter Brock and Win Percy, who had a bit of a slide off the circuit and rejoin. Johnson comfortably clear.
Win Percy was 7th, rejoined now in 13th. Scrapping there with Madecki, and Brock was mixed up there with Seaton. Now, I'm wondering why Tony Longhurst has suddenly dropped back off the noise.
First guess would have to be tyres.
Yeah.
There's the first one. The Benson and Hedges team in for a quick stop.
Right on cue, really, Alan.
Yes, yeah. He was obviously giving his tyres a hard time in the initial part of the race, ducking and diving and charging at John Bowe, and that takes a little bit more wear out of his tyres. I guess we can now expect Alan Jones in pretty soon.
Johnson coming up with 78 Jeff full, goes through on the inside of the carousel. They come out of that turn.
That stop was on lap 17, so you wouldn't say it was in the comfortable zone, would you, Alan?
No, not yet. Certainly not.
That would suggest that there's every likelihood, if he went and chose the same tyres again, that he's going to have to make another stop.
Yes.
Check once again that gap as Johnson goes through. We'll catch them on the other side of the hill as Johnson now to the crown of Motorcraft Hill. And here he comes. So daylight actually back to John Bowe. There's Bowe coming through. Alan Jones. A little bit closer that time to Bowe. Greg Hansford is holding in there well. And here's Larry Perkins in the Commodore. Going through nicely. He's clear of Colin Bond. 5th spot is Larry Perkins, the number 11 Commodore. And Colin Bond getting on racing terms with him as they come across the stripe. Then the two Nissan sitting back behind the Sierras and the Holden.
Bondi's having a charge. He was behind both of those Nissans, and he's come through and he's now giving Larry a hard time. I think we could see him past. I'm pretty certain that Larry will have to stop running the particular tyre compound that he chose.
Bond, of course, drove superbly at Winton, came off the back of the pack, and he's driven a well-judged race so far, starting out of position number 9.
I have some viewers that would be interested in the fortunes of Drew Price, who was to have driven the second Peter Jackson Ford Sierra this weekend, but it broke an axle yesterday. And about this spot here, as Colin Bond has a look on the inside to try and force a little bit of real estate, and I think he's now in a position to be able to squirt the Commodore to death down here.
Yes, you often have to come within a thou or two of Larry's rear vision mirrors before he'll give you the corner.
Yes, actually, I've noticed that. There's some great old race cam shots from Wanneroo.
Well, that's fine. That's the way it should be.
So a good drive there from Colin Bond, past Larry Perkins. Of course, Larry driving the V8 fuel-injected Holden Commodore. The weight says it all against the Sierra. And no matter how many tyres they bolt to, they still feel the pinch against the turbo Ford rocket ship. He's done a good job, Perkins, as a privateer this year, and but catching him up very, very quickly, the Nissan duo of Mark Scaife and Jimmy Richards.
Yes, his tyres are now in
He's
the second.
coming in.
Yes, he's on the way in. We'll pick that one.
Tony Longhurst has rejoined in 14th position, incidentally, and I was going to say that Drew Price's car was withdrawn yesterday after it hit the fence as a result of a broken axle coming onto the straight.
Here's Brock and Seton are both coming at the Nissans now.
Brock qualified down in the pack by comparison to some of his better performances, but they've been having all sorts of trouble with their tyres, particularly in hot conditions. You'd have to say we've got those today, and yesterday, and the day before that up here. Take a look at Nissan track cam. This is from Jim Richards' perspective, chasing his teammate Mark Scaife, who out-qualified him this weekend, and he's in 7th place at the moment. And you'll get a real idea of the undulation in this track. It's a very lively little track, and one of the few tracks in the national circuit with a lap average in excess of 100 miles an hour.
Well, Alan Jones, of course, is the man on the move. He closes up on John Bowe at this stage. Perkins has been into the pits, completed his stop for fresh rubber, and is now back out as Bowe tries to work around the outside. Jonesy thinks about cutting the corner, poking the nose down on the inside.
Larry's been in for tyres and gone back out again. I don't know whether I was dreaming, but I felt like I saw something from beneath Alan Jones' car a couple of times down the straight there. Just coming out.
Yes.
Is it losing steam or water or something?
He looks like he's getting some fumes on the overrun out of the exhaust.
He's definitely losing a lot of something.
Yes. I think we've got a heat problem.
Seems to be that way.
Yeah, I think he's a pretty short-term proposition.
Maybe Jonesy's sweating a bit.
Jonesy is really closed up behind John Bowe. I was going to say that they both had Larry Perkins lined up. Larry came out with fresh rubber and has disappeared into the distance.
Yeah, it's so much a tyre race. I don't think we'll be seeing Alan around much longer. If we do, he's carrying an awful amount of coolant in the car.
Yeah. I did an engine change on that car yesterday.
Yes.
So rounding up now the Terry Finnegan Food Town entry. Incidentally, while we were away before, the GIO entry of Mark Gibbs was on the side of the track with pretty substantial damage on the, I think it was the front left-hand side of the car. It looked like they'd had a problem with a rim or a tyre, and as a result of that, the mud guard. So their fortunes this weekend have not been good.
It all looks so good, actually, for the B&H team, but that's hasn't materialised so far, with Tony Longhurst pit bound for fresh rubber, and Alan Jones, we suspect, with an overheating problem, but he closes up on Johnny Bowe again. Andrew Madecki in the car number 6, Noble Sierra, in for fresh rubber. And I think Jones has got a major problem because it went well and truly off the boil on the approach to the carousel, and Bondi is closed up. There's something for Frank Gardner.
Yes, there's
for the
not
rest
enough
of the
water.
day. No, there's not enough water in that.
Not enough water there.
That's bad luck for Alan Jones. We thought it may have been a Queensland trifecta here today.
In accordance with his Formula 1 custom, he has got a helicopter here to whisk him back to his Surfers Paradise home. Dick Johnson, dashboard cam, Michelle Sierra, thanks to Dunlop. And you'll see just how busy the race leader is around this track. It's a frantic little circuit and pretty quick. He has a glance at his pit board, then a glance in the mirror, and he'd be pretty relaxed and relieved to see that it's just another red car behind at the moment. Top 12 as I see it at the moment, Dick Johnson leading from John Bowe, still with a gap of about 4 seconds, then back to Alan Jones on our lap chart, but of course he's vanished. Moving up into third place, Greg Hansford. Fourth place is Colin Bond. Fifth is Mark Scaife. Sixth, Jim Richards. Seventh, Peter Brock. Eighth, Glenn Seaton. Ninth is now Win Percy. 10th is car number 6, Andrew Radecki, having made a stop, and Tony Longhurst is behind him at 12.
Looking at that dash cam, it looks a little bit like worry cam to Dick, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think sometimes, you know, with viewers taking in the Touring Car Championship, as Jonesy comes in, I don't think they'll have to worry about the tyres, and I think that's already been signalled. The problem is a little more severe than fresh rubber, and let's go again. But it all looks so simple, so smooth from outside the car, and occasionally with race cam. When we take you inside the car, it also looks smooth, but that dashboard camera really shows what the driver is going through, the stress and the level of concentration. Dick, of course, from the first time we mounted that at Winton, it's all about that a little later. Meantime, according to our Shell race score, Dick Johnson continues to lead the Touring Car Championship from Lakeside. Second is John Bowe of Tasmania. Third is Sydney's Colin Bond. Fourth is Queensland's Greg Hansford. And fifth, Victoria's Mark Scaife. Welcome back to Lakeside Raceway for the 5th round of the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship, brought to you by Shell Ultra Unleaded. Why not experience the difference? And let me tell you, there's plenty of activity in the pit area. Just in at the moment is Greg Hansford and the ALLAN Moffat ANZ Sierra.
Slow stop.
Pretty slow stop, but the man who leads this championship, no pit stops, we believe at the moment, is Dick Johnson. How is it out there, Dick?
How far is Bond?
He's talking to his pit crew at the moment. He's trying to get a gap on Colin Bond, who's been the real survivor in this pack amongst all the pit stops and tyre changes. Larry Perkins is attempting to unlap himself after his stop.
His tyres are gone.
So maybe, just maybe, that's about the last thing Dick needed. As Larry soldiers on. And of course,
Scaife having made a pit stop in and out. Both the Nissans have now stopped.
So for you at home, let's just recap. There have been so many pit stops in and out in the last break. Dick Johnson continues to lead the race here at Lakeside this afternoon, but Colin Bond, because of everyone else pitting.
Colin Bond second at the moment. Peter Brock, after qualifying so poorly, in third. Then Glenn Seaton in fourth, who started on a very hard tyre. Win Percy's up to fifth. Then Tony Longhurst, followed by John Bowe. Larry Perkins, we look at on screen at the moment. Then we've got Mark Scaife, followed by Jim Richards. And we're on lap 30, 28 minutes and 30 seconds into this 50-minute adventure.
And I guess I posed the question, can Johnson go all the way without a pit stop?
I don't think so. I think he's got to stop. No, he's lost the edge of his tyres now. Larry's got newer tyres and he's all over Dick, and that's uncharacteristic.
And here's the pride of the Caltech CXT fleet, Colin Bond of Sydney, car number 8. As I mentioned earlier, sensational drive at Winton from the back of the pack. And here today, just soldiering on, there's Glenn Seaton, car number 30, the Peter Jackson Sierra. He's been in, and you saw Dick Johnson's crew preparing for the arrival of Dick Johnson. So it really is up to Colin Bond whether the Toyo tyres on Colin Bond's car go the distance. That could be the major boil over the Touring Car Series.
No question. Is he running Toyos? If that's the case, it is totally unknown. He may well have the perfect circuit and the perfect temperature, and he may have a dream run.
I watched him string together a pile of laps on Friday, and he was in the consistent low 55s, and he did a good 10 to 15 laps solid, and the car kept up its pace.
That'll obviously win the race, because we saw before John Bowe came in, he slipped back to the 68s.
Yeah. Here's Colin Bond coming down in the Caltex entry. About to put a lap on Chris Lambden in the Bow Repairs Nissan Skyline. Here's their race leader, Dick Johnson. This is really like a F1 Grand Prix here today. They're all in for quick stops. Dunlops for Johnson. And that will give Colin Bond the race lead in car number 8. The Caltex CXT Sierra.
Good stop.
Good start, yeah. I think you could say those rears would be warmed up by now.
Yes, it should be fairly warm. Now it all comes down to whether with fresh tyres and plenty of grip, can Johnson pull in Colin Bond, and can Bond go all the way?
Johnson's rejoined in 5th position as Bondi gets up on 2 wheels.
Well, that's a pretty good indication if he's got enough grip to be able to 2-wheel.
2nd stop for Tony Longhurst.
Yes. And 20 laps to go.
30 minutes into this race.
But, you know, I hope I'm not putting the mocker on the man, but if he's got enough grip to tip the car into 2 wheels, as we saw there, it indicates that his tyres are in good condition.
It'd be interesting if we got a time on Colin next time round to see whether or not he's maintaining a potential race winning pace.
So Colin Bond, former touring car champ, former Bathurst winner, and a regular on the touring car trail. In the Caltex Sierra.
Yeah, looking good.
Yeah, comes out of Hungary Corner up to the top of Motorcraft Hill. And I think the locals here at the moment be just somewhat nonplussed with the fact that it really did look like a Queensland 1-2-3 here today. But motor racing is a funny game.
It could be the boiler.
We are a long way from home yet. I'm not counting any chickens right at the moment.
You know, Wynn could still come into contention if he in fact is able to go through on his very hard choice of rubber.
So Bondi comes through in car number 8, and we'll look at the gaps for you now from Bondi back to Peter.
Lap 34, and it's a pretty healthy gap back to Peter Brock. It's Greg Hansford who's down in around about 10th at the moment. This is Brock now. You can tell because the thing's fairly breathing. That's Brock in 2nd place, and then Win Percy's in 3rd place in the Holden Racing Team Commodore. There goes Win. Behind him we've got Dick Johnson on the charge. Then it's John Bow, and it's a good 7 or 8 seconds back to John Bow as I understand it. It's Terry Finnegan coming over the crest of the brow. There's John Bow in 5th, and then a gap back to Larry Perkins.
Colin Bond is still doing low 55s. He could do it.
Well, that's what Friday indicated. So this is a great drive from Colin Bond, and equally a tremendous drive from Peter Brock, who looked to be in all sorts of strife throughout practice and qualifying, and in the warm-up this morning spat a hose off a turbo and dumped oil and all sorts of garbage all over the place, and had to in fact change a turbo for the race. And he's staying over at Lakeside this weekend to do some tyre testing tomorrow. They've got a new case construction of tyre for the car that they feel is going to be able to better deal with these hot temperatures. And we've had so many hot races in this year's series, bar Simmons Plains, and it was Simmons Plains where the Bridgestone shod car worked pretty well. Seaton's in 12th position at the moment in front of Brock, car number 30. And
having a big try.
And having a big go.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things about Glenn, you notice he drags his left foot on the brake pedal.
Yes, I have. I don't know about that one.
He was talking to me about it yesterday, and he feels that because of the situation with the turbo engines in these cars, and you've got to keep them spooled up.
Yes.
He just likes to be able to balance off the brake and on the accelerator a little bit like you do in karts, as we take Dulux race cam from the roof of the Seton Mobile, the Peter Jackson Sierra.
Yes, well done our race cam team, who have been trying to find some new and different angles. Glenn running with our Dulux Autocolor race cam in car 30, 12th on the track at the moment. He's been in and out for rubber.
That's a good shot of using all the black stuff, isn't it?
Yes, it's an interesting perspective from the camera view. It's just sitting right in the middle of the roof, and you can see a little of this circuit, how it winds, how it undulates. back onto the start-finishing straight. Wall-to-wall spectators here at Lakeside, probably the best turnout of any of the touring car rounds. They came here expecting Queenslanders 1, 2, 3.
There's wall-to-wall smoke off whatever this is in front at the moment. One of the listens, I think. Yes. Puffing between gear changes. It's the Borough Pairs car of Chris Landon. If you look at the brake lights on Glenn's car, as I was saying before, Alan, he just likes to hold his foot there for the in case the thing leaps out from under him. He reckons it saves him a millisecond in heart failure time. And there they are, the brake lights on once again, and then he'll do it through Hungary and then right up the top of the carousel. And he feels he can keep his foot into the gas pedal, keep the thing spooled up. So interesting theory.
Yes, certainly.
You do a lot of race drive instruction.
I think I'd get my feet tangled up.
Yeah, that's what worried me. I think I'd do a figure eight and end up doing a reef knot on my knees.
Okay, here's Lightning Larry in the number 11 Commodore, dicing with Mark Scaife at the moment. Larry's in 6th position. Scaife trying to work a way around him.
This is a battle for position.
Yes, Larry is doing his wide Commodore routine. That's quite fair. He's entitled to pick the line.
Well, he's got the fresh air in front of him at the moment, so he's the king of the castle.
And Mark closes up right on the bumper as they crest the top of Motorcraft. Larry, of course, winner at Bathurst 82, 83 and 84 with Peter Brock. Competed in 14 Formula One races, 4th at Le Mans in 1988. Of course, he's done a stint over there with Tom Walkinshaw, and a fine engineer, Larry Perkins, and a pretty handy race car driver as well. He'll make Mark Scaife work hard this afternoon.
Yes, indeed. I think young Mark's got 2 guys to beat there, both Larry and Perkins.
36 and a half minutes down in this little battle.
So Larry Perkins Engineering Commodore sweeps beneath the Dunlop Bridge.
He'd be chasing Win Percy for all he's worth at the moment.
There's a nice dice going on there between the Holden privateers and not so privateers. And they really do attack it. They go out to race each other, and the Sierras, well, they don't really come into the equation. It's who has the top finishing Holden.
Yes, it's. I've never been mixed up in any of that sort of racing against.
Never, but you were always a rogue, a redneck.
I guess young Mark is also. I think he's learning a little bit how to throw stones as well. There's a nice little gravel pit as you come onto that onto the main straight, and Larry found that a few years ago and figured out how to throw stones. And I've thrown a few back at him, but he's now teaching young Mark how to pick those pieces of rubble up and throw them at the car behind.
Doing a good job of it. So an interesting situation here in round 5 of the Shell Ultra Touring Car Championship from Lakeside. There's our race leader, Colin Bond of Sydney in the Caltech CXT. Car, as we take our Toyota race score, what will the result be? Bond, the race leader, over Peter Brock. 3rd spot held by Dick Johnson, coming back through the pack. 4th is Win Percy, and 5th is John Bow. Traffic congestion. There's Tony Longhurst now with Colin Bond.
Bondi well clear of Peter Brock at this stage. Another Larry Perkins going to the pits again. 2nd stop for the Perkins Engineering car. So 2nd Peter Brock. These cars are all on the same lap. 3rd still Win Percy. 4th is John Bow, car 18. In 5th place we've got Mark Scaife. In 6th place his teammate Jim Richards, and then Larry Perkins was on the same lap. He'll now drop some time in the pits.
That, very quickly looking at it, if that's something like the finishing order, we'll probably put 3 people just about equal on the top of the tree.
Yeah. Keep the championship nice and lively as we look at the action in the pits. Larry Perkins, the number 11 Perkins Engineering car, in for fresh rubber. And out quickly. But will this man go the distance without a pit stop? Tony Longhurst, who's been in for 2 tyre changes so far, just sits ahead of Colin on the racetrack, so he's well down in the scorecard.
Poor result for Dick Johnson in this race heightens interest in the championship considerably, because it would potentially close, if they finish in the order they're in now, a gap between Johnson and Richards to 4 points. And Dick's currently in 10th place. Got 5 minutes to go.
Yes, could tie them right up.
So that was the reason, as we said before, Johnson was up to 3rd. had a spin. Went off the track, didn't hit anything. Rejoined, but by the time he rejoined, he dropped about 7 or 8 spots, and he's been coming back from there. We take Nissan Motorsport race cam with Jimmy Richards. Richards up to 5th now, so that's going to make it very interesting at the top of the championship. Dick Johnson leading the series. 60 points to Jim Richards' 56 for the split. And as Neil said just a while ago, you just got to keep hanging in there.
Well, Dick would get 1 point, wouldn't he, for a 10th, and Jimmy, who's 5th, is going to pick up 8 points. So with the...
Well, and Dick would probably pick up a couple more positions.
Yeah, that's right.
The next round, of course,
Larry's really got strife. That's 3 stops now. They must have had a problem, or they've ended up with the wrong tyre on, or...
Yeah, there's been a major blunder there somewhere.
Here's the 2 Nissans. Jimmy Richards ahead of Mark Scaife.
Andrew Madigi.
Yep. Everyone's been in this race with a bit of a chance. We had Hansford early, Alan Jones, John Bower, Dick Johnson up and leading till the pit stop.
Yeah.
Colin Bond up there doing it now. Win Percy, a spin, but back up to 3rd. And Peter Brock, he would have been, honestly, 25 to 1 at the start of the race, and he's up to 2nd.
I wonder, I don't think we could get them all back next week for another race like this, could we? I think we'd get Bondi pretty easily.
Yes, I think you might be right.
Well, he's looking pretty sharp. 47 minutes gone out of the 50-minute race, and with a good lead as we take Nissan track cam from under the bumper of Jim Richards' car, with a good lead over Peter Brock.
Beneath the bridge, down into the left-hander, dipper at Hungry Corner, up towards the top of Motorcraft Hill. And of course the roller coaster ride off there and back down to the right hand of the pits onto the start finishing straight. And there's Colin Bond again. He's closed up behind Tony Longhurst. Longhurst making a fairly sedate approach to the top of the hill and might have problems.
It looks like Bondi, Dick is just about to unlap himself.
Very close, but
some hustling and bustling going on here. We've got Bondi leading. 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go from Peter Brock in 2nd, then Win Percy in 3rd, then John Bower in 4th place ahead of Jim Richards, Mark Scaife, Tony Longhurst, Greg Hansford, Dick Johnson and Glenn Seton.
This all affected the Greg Hansford dice here with Tony Longhurst. As you can see, entering that corner, Bond gave Dick some racing room to try and unlap himself.
Yes.
They almost wound up touching each other, trying to sneak through on the inside at the same time.
Yes, they're in a situation again where their tyres are very greasy. They're just about ready for some more, really. And, you know, they start moving the cars around the track. They're just not the accuracy and the grip there anymore. They can very unintentionally just tap each other at this point.
Okay, back onto the start finishing straight. Dick Johnson carrying our Dunlop race cam up to 7th now. It's been a race of mixed fortune so far, mate.
Oh, I tell you what, you're not wrong, pal. Like, this thing got a vibration. I did my eyeballs roll around my head coming down the straight. I don't know what the hell's wrong with it, but I haven't even told Neil about that, but she's having a bit of a shake.
You've always been hard on them, Dick.
This is not a real good place to go backwards, I can tell you.
How are your tyres now, Dick, after the change?
Huh. Which change? I've had that many.
Okay, mate.
I hope we can just nail a couple more.
Well, you haven't got long to go, so we'll let you get back to it. We're probably only a lap away from the finish.
Thanks, pal.
Thanks, buddy. Okay, Colin Bond doing it for Caltex in the CXT Ford Sierra is probably only this lap or the next lap one away from victory in round 5 of the Shell Ultra Touring Car Championship. Last lap board coming out for Colin Bond. I'll have a patent on his tyres after this race. Everyone will be on him for the next one at Lakeside.
Yes, indeed.
He's the only bloke that may well do the Tooheys 1000 without a pit stop. But isn't it great to see one of the regulars, one of the old-timers, as they say, bloke is really nature's gentleman.
Yes, and it just goes to show you've got to keep banging in there, haven't you? You've got to keep hanging away at it.
Peter Brock still runs in 2nd when Percy is 3rd, so a major upset in round 5 of the Shell Ultra Nationals today. Bondi comes through Hungary corner, headed to the top of Motorcraft, just ahead of him Greg Hansford, who did so well so early in this race in the ANZ Banking Sierra. He's getting stronger at every outing, but the last corner is coming up now as the Caltex CXT Sierra comes onto the start-finishing straight. They all expected a Queensland victory. It hasn't happened. The old-timer Colin Bond and the Caltex Sierra taste victory. Second spot is going to go to Brocky in the Mobile Sierra, car number 05. And Win Percy in car number 16, the Holden Special Vehicles Commodore, will take third. What a sensational race here today. There's the man who has done it. Let's check them out on our race score. Shell Ultra race score. Colin Bond is your race winner from Lakeside. Peter Brock finishes in second. Win Percy is third. John Bow comes up to fourth. And Jimmy Richards finishes fifth in the Nissan Skyline. Well, welcome back to Lakeside. And Win Percy, third place. They say it's never over until the fat lady sings.
At the risk of sounding like a pommy, Mike, I'm over the moon. Really, really pleased. I hope we justify bringing the old VL back out and giving it a good run.
You may have finished a little further up, apart from a spin early in the race.
I tried very hard tyres, Mike. I tried to chase Larry for a little bit too long. I cooked them and I had then to back off, and twice I did it and twice I suffered. But I'm still very pleased.
Well done, Win. Second place, he started a fair way back in the pack, but second to Peter Brock. Well done, Pete.
Thanks, Mike. A real battle, but I sort of stuck to a plan, just drove around. I had some pretty hard Bridgestones on, and they did the job fantastically well. I'd like to congratulate that company on the product. It surprised everyone today, and I'm absolutely thrilled for Mobile and all the boys.
Well done. That Queensland sun, you're leaking.
I'll tell you what, it's hot out there.
Thanks very much, mate. Old-timers disease comes back to Lakeside. Colin Bond, fantastic to see. Well done, son.
Thanks very much, Mike. It was as good as it was for me as the people over there in the the Caltex tent. It was fantastic. All I can say is it was great work for the boys. They put so much work in on the car, and obviously our sponsors and tyre companies. Without them we couldn't do it.
Well, judging by the fact that you've gone full distance today without a tyre stop, is it likely you'll do the 2 1000 without one?
Oh, it looks that way, doesn't it? No, we knew we had a very good race set up, and qualifying still one of our problems, but we had a good race set up at the last race meeting too, and we're just a bit disappointed where we started. But still, I guess that's motor racing. We're looking forward to the future rounds, actually, Mike, because I think it's all forward for us from here on in.
Well, Tom Smith from Shell is about ready to sash you. Well done, Tom, and well done, Colin. Colin Bond, a big winner here today. Of course, at Lakeside International Raceway, and that really does open up the point score, because we now have Jimmy Richards and Dick Johnson together at the top of the table as we go to Mallala. We hope you've enjoyed today's coverage of the 5th round from Lakeside. Make sure you join us on May 27th when we return to Amaroo Park.